Welcome to AFLEET tutorial 3 out of 5. In this video, I'll show you how to use the total cost of ownership calculator, or TCO for short. If you're thinking about purchasing an alternative vehicle, it's helpful to look at more than just the purchase price. You'll want to look at the total cost of ownership of the vehicle. Maybe you used the simple payback calculator, previous tutorial, to see which technologies would save you money on fuel costs. The TCO calculator gives you a more in-depth look into the costs of owning some alternative fuel vehicles. So let's get into it. Opening up AFLEET. Okay, so for this tutorial, we're just looking at TCO. We only care about the blue tabs and the yellow one because inputs page is always relevant. So I'm going to try and do this one a little quicker than I did the last one. So if you really just want in-depth of what everything on the inputs page is, go back to the last tutorial because that's what I did. Alright, so for total cost of ownership, you're going to want to fill out the primary vehicle location. Choose your state for regional data. And you're going to, if you're looking at light duty vehicles, you're going to fill out this area. Again, the baseline for light duty vehicles is gasoline. So you're going to compare conventional, the conventional fuel vehicles is gasoline for this, and if you want to compare to any alternative fuel vehicles, then you're going to go on in and have them be the same number as the gasoline. But I'm just going to have that be 0. I'm going to do an example with the heavy duty vehicle for a change. Let's look at, let's just go with single unit short haul truck. Single unit short haul truck. There we go. Let's do a fire truck. Aren't fire trucks? Fire trucks are great. Okay. So, let's say we're going to do the total cost of ownership of looking at, let's just look at a single one versus a couple other fuels. So I'm going to ignore gasoline. Diesel is the baseline for heavy duty. It's why I put it in red, but it's not in red for you guys. Let's just compare all of these. In reality, you're probably only going to be comparing one or two things if you're really making a decision between the two, but it's up to you, because the tricky part is getting the data. So as you can see right here, the defaults are 0 because we don't have data for these ones for heavy duty, so I think I'm just going to leave those as 0 too. Otherwise, you'd want to fill these in. So otherwise you'd want to fill these in, because if you have the annual vehicle mileage be 0, you're not going to get any results in those. It's only 0 because we don't have any information for that. So I'm just going to leave that as 0 too. Let's see, because I don't really want to deal with that right now. Okay. If you want to do those things and you have the information, feel free to put it in. You're going to need to make sure that you have good values for these to get good results. And if you want to use the default values, or you changed it to something, I don't know, that'd be a lot. But let's say you changed it to that and you want to set it back to the default mileage the way it was before, all you have to do is click enter. type enter, and then right over here, just click right there, and there we go. It's back to normal. Okay, so right now we're comparing one diesel heavy-duty vehicle with, looks like biodiesel, renewable diesel, compressed natural gas, liquefied natural gas. That's reasonable. And so refueling information. For the TCO tab, you need to fill out the fueling type, which is the first one, but you can ignore fuel price sensitivity because it says right here that sensitivity is only used for the payback. So you don't need to choose public or private station. Let's do private station because we can. And if you want to go into infrastructure costs of that, private station assumes that you own the station. It's your station, essentially. And if you want to think about the cost of building your own station, then you want to click right here and go to infrastructure costs, which is, yeah. Cool. So fuel and DEF price. Yeah, you're going to want to fill this out. If you have better fuel prices than, or more relevant ones for where you are, feel free to change the values. These are just the defaults that are in the tool. I'll leave them that way because I can't. So we ignored this area on the last tutorial. This time we can't because this is the inputs for total cost of ownership. It's only for TCO. So you need to, when you're going to think about the total cost of ownership, you need to think about how long you're going to own the car for. Since we're only looking at heavy duty right now, we can just ignore this first part. The default is 15 years. It has to be a scale from 0 to 30. If you said you wanted to own a car for 40 years, here's what would happen. A little window pops up that says enter a value between 1 and 30. That's supposed to happen. Programmed that way. So let's say you want to own the car for 10 years. Okay, there we go. That's fine. And infrastructure is only if you're planning on building infrastructure that you're going to have it around for some number of years, but it has to be 1 to 30 because that's the way we set up the tool. Okay, and then financial assumptions, you want to fill out, are you taking a loan or not? If so, if yes, then these numbers come into play. If no, then the numbers are still here, but they won't be used. Okay, not too bad. And also, by the way, if these are relatively straightforward values to get, depending on your situation, you might have some trouble finding the value for this one. It's fine to just leave it as the default. It has to do with the changing value of money over time and some stuff along that line. So feel free to change it, but you don't have to. You can leave this the way you want. You know, your results will still be fine. So then we've got fuel production assumptions. This is used for every single calculator. So if you don't know these, just leave them as they are. It's the default. That's fine. If you do know them and you want to include that into the analysis, feel free to change it. Okay, petroleum use, GHGs, and air pollutant options. Yep. This is just how, for an environmental side of things, how much you want to take into account. You know, do you want to have all the air pollutants? Do you just want to look at vehicle operation air pollutants right here? The option 3 is the most comprehensive, but it's only for light duty vehicles because of the information that was available when making the tool. And you just kind of choose what you want. If you've used AFLEET before, you wouldn't see this. It would just be option 1 is what they show, but there's more options now to have more information shown if desired. And then this part right here, idle reduction inputs, you can just ignore because we're doing total cost of ownership calculator right now. We're not looking at idling reduction. Cool, so once you fill out the key inputs, you're good to go. And then you've got your outputs right here. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, it's all blank because we didn't do anything for light duty. And I left these ones blank for heavy duty, so you can ignore those. And this is kind of what we're looking at. It gives us a cost breakdown. Yeah. It looks like these are zeros because there's probably wasn't enough information for renewable diesel for it. And then you're adding in things that don't have values. So with this sort of thing, you really just want to make sure you've got the values in the right place. Yeah. So, you can look at, here we go, we got lifetime cost of ownership. We got energy use and emissions, if you're interested in that. Yep, we've got externality costs, and we've got all of that stuff right there summarized in these nice little tables. So there's nothing for light duty, there's stuff for heavy duty, and as you can see, it's over the course of, well, it goes all the way up to 30 years, but that's, we just left it like here because I input that I only have it for 10, so the graph is smaller than that. And there's little markers for every single fuel, but it'll only label the ones that we selected. Yeah, and you can just look at that. Cool. So pretty easy as long as you've got the right data. That's the real issue with the tool, getting the data to be good, and then it'll turn out. And if you want to, you can look at the actual calculations going on. This is a TCO. Here's a little summary of some of the of basically what we chose on the inputs page. And this is actually a really big, as you can see, a really big worksheet. Don't just scroll through like I just did. It'll give you a migraine. What you can do instead is we've got these hyperlinks up here. So if you want to look at heavy duty, let's say ethanol, you can click right here. Actually, no, ethanol is not a good example. Let's just say a heavy duty fuel cell vehicle. Cool. Brings you to right here, which is, as you can see, like about more than halfway down the page. And this is pretty much everything that's being used in the total cost of ownership. So if you want to go in there and actually look at everything that's being used, you can do that. And it goes on for a little bit, but it's not that bad. It's just this stuff. Yeah, here we go. It's just that. And you can tell because then there'll be another big old green stripe that marks the next section. So, yeah, you can take a look at that if you'd like. So it's pretty simple. You just put your inputs in, take a look at the outputs, make sure that nothing smells fishy, and that's how you do the total cost of ownership. I hope that was helpful to some extent. If you'd like to check out the other tutorials, part 4 is about the footprint, and part 5 is about the idling reduction. And you can check out part 1 and 2 as well.